Christmas series. This is our last. This is number 5 out of 5 for the Christmas story.
Woo!
We've just gone through Christmas and sort of wrapping things up, looking forward to the new year.
Exactly.
And so, what are we talking about today?
Well, we are talking about angels. And how cool is that? And as Daniel was talking about, in this SOAP readings, we've had 5 weeks of 5 readings. So we've had 25 readings total. And we're going to talk about angels today. And angels show up 8 times in those 25 readings. So almost a third.
That is an interesting statistic because as you and I were talking, angels don't show up in a third of the Bible.
Yeah.
By any stretch.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's just kind of hit and miss. So we think, wow, we can get a really complete view looking at these verses. And of course, that's not true. So we need to keep in mind that this is an incomplete view of angelology, but it's what happened in the Christmas story. Right. And we'll go outside the Christmas story some too.
Yeah.
Because we have to.
We sort of have to, right? Yeah. But there's so much about angels. It's surprising. Like there's a lot. Yeah. For as much as we don't know, there is a lot that we do know.
Yeah, exactly.
And not all of it touches the Christmas story, even though they show up.
Right. Right.
A lot.
Right. So I would say within the Christmas story, we get a good view that angels, one of the jobs of an angel is to be a messenger.
Yeah.
Right? And we see it a number of times. We see it. Zechariah gets visited by an angel. Mary gets visited by an angel, and messages are delivered to them. Joseph is in a dream visited by an angel, I think 4 times.
4 times, yeah.
Right. So hey, here's a message, or here's the next part of the message. Yep. In Joseph's case, so message and delivery is kind of a big part in there.
Well, fun fact is that in both Hebrew and Greek, the word that is translated angel is also messenger. Because that
seems to be a primary job.
So the word is used for humans as much as it is for non-humans.
Right.
Right. So that it's like somehow it's built in almost inherently as far as the Bible's concerned.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I think we should focus. I mean, I think everybody gets that from the messenger standpoint. But let's take a look at some of the things that we see in the Christmas story about angels that aren't about the messenger side. And I think in week 1, in reading number 1, we find our first one. Because our first reading, you had to start all the way back in Genesis 3. Yeah. Which is the fall.
Yeah.
And we're introduced to a being that's actually not even an angel at this point. I mean, or defined as an angel at this point.
Yeah, we're not told he's an angel. We're told later on. But we have whatever he's called the serpent, right? And I've got my own theories on all that. We're not going to get into, but that's part of my broader angelology, right?
Right.
But we've got this being who somehow is portrayed as a serpent of some kind,
right,
to deceive humanity. We don't have all the backstory yet. We have to, sort of cobble that together from a lot of other passages, but. In the book of the Revelation, chapter 12 and chapter 20, we find out that it's Satan who is called that ancient serpent. So we get to go all the way back.
Right.
So, Genesis 3.
Yeah, why would you start? Why would we start there?
Why would we start there? Well, what happens in Genesis 3? He tempts Eve,
and successfully
tempts Eve. Right. But Adam is very interested. Adam knew what he was doing, right? 1 Timothy 2 tells us that Eve was deceived and Adam was not.
Right.
So Adam knew exactly what he was doing. And that moment right there sets up the need for Christmas, the need for the incarnation. Because Paul calls Jesus the second Adam and the last man. And so the things that Adam was supposed to do and did not do, Jesus will fulfill. And the things that he was not supposed to do and did do, Jesus has to fix, or did fix. And so without Genesis 3, number 1, there's no rest of the Bible.
Right.
And number 2, there's especially no Christmas.
Yeah. So how cool is that? 3 chapters into the Bible, and we see the need
we're already setting
up
what
happens.
And there was an angel right there who, now, I think Adam would have sinned even had Satan not been there, had not tempted, I think Adam was on that trajectory anyway.
Just
but the
little quicker.
Yeah, the fact that there was an angel there at the very beginning that helps set the scene for the Christmas story.
Right. So from our standpoint, we see good and bad angels from this Genesis. And then if we fast forward to Luke in chapter 2, we see an angel being a messenger to Zechariah.
Chapter 1. But
Then we also see something else happening.
Yeah.
Right? And Zechariah questions the angel.
I'll be Zechariah, you be the angel.
No.
The angel says...
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. See, you got it. You could be an angel.
All right,
you give me the news.
Yeah, your wife is gonna be pregnant.
Yeah. And he says, I don't believe it. Really, how can this be? I don't believe it.
Right.
She's too old. There's too much. We're too old. We can't do this.
Right. So anything's possible through God. All this other thing. And by the way, since you didn't believe me, now you're going to be mute. So there's some punishment. That happened in there.
Well, and that means that the angel is not just delivering a message, but has some authority. Right. Has some power. I don't think the angel just did that on his own.
Right.
But obviously there's some authority there.
Right, and had the ability to carry it out, like you said.
Yeah.
So interesting part there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Mary, here's an interesting thing. We didn't really talk about this with Mary, but it shows up with the angels, right?
Yep.
Mary seems to say something similar.
Right.
And yet she doesn't get punished for it.
Yeah.
Is it because, girls always get off easier than guys?
She cried.
We'll edit that part.
I don't think so. I think it's a heart thing.
Yeah.
More than anything, where Zechariah is like, no way can this possibly happen.
Right.
And Mary was more like, wait, how can this be?
Yeah.
Seemed to be more questions.
And I think that's a good way. I think you phrased those really, really well. Because, humanly speaking, Zechariah was right. There's no way this is going to happen. We're too old. Yeah. We're well past childbearing.
He had already made his peace with it.
Yeah.
It seems like.
It's like, he'd never heard of, for instance, these small-time guys in history, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. God's never done stuff like this before.
Right.
But, when God's been silent for 400 years, literally, this, as far as anything we have recorded, Luke 1 was the first time God spoke to anyone that we know of for 400 years. From Nehemiah, Malachi, Zechariah is the first one to see an angel in 4 centuries.
Yeah. So give him a little slack.
You got it. He did get punished. He had the wrong attitude. But from human, would you do anything differently?
I think we call him the comeback kid too, right? He definitely made up for it.
Yeah, 9 months later he got to talk, right? Because
the first thing he said was praising God, and his name is Jesus.
His name is John.
John,
and this great prayer, this great praise at the end of Luke 1. Yeah. But I would have done the same thing, right? Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to keep us moving forward because we're going to get stuck otherwise. Okay. Also in Luke chapter 2, an angel visits the shepherds, and we still see in I think in a lot of cases so far, it's been one angel visiting. Mm-hmm. Certainly in the Old Testament, there's cases where there's a couple angels come and I think visit Abraham and have lunch with him.
Yeah. But usually, even in the Old Testament, it's usually just one, isn't it?
But now, after Jesus is born, we have a vast heavenly army. So how many is in a vast heavenly army, right?
Well, the Greek word that shows up, at least in Revelation, for and for when Jesus says, I could have called 10,000 angels or whatever, it's not actually 10,000. It's a myriad. The word is myriad. So it's just a literal transliteration.
We always want a number.
We always want a number. So was heaven empty? Here's what I like to think. Because they, if they say angels are in heaven or whatever, was there a point in time where God was the only one in heaven in Luke 2 where every good angel was down there celebrating this.
Yeah. Wow. Quiet with
Yeah,
that.
right. I mean, I don't even know if that's true, but how, I mean, a vast heavenly army had filled up the sky. And if you were an angel, wouldn't you want to be a part of that choir?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You want to be a part of it. And you're looking forward to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And how exciting would that be? Even though as humans, we didn't get it yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we still have gotten everything, but you see it.
And this just popped into my mind, but in 1 Peter, it says that, chapter 1, I think, that says that these things that the prophets wrote about, they didn't know who and they didn't know the time, right? The prophets knew what was going on, but they didn't know who, they didn't know the time. But angels long to investigate or long to look into those things that the prophets wrote about. So isn't that interesting? Is that there's a desire on their part to understand what God is doing, at least the good angels, to understand what God is doing.
Well, you would think the bad angels too, right? There's some benefit for them.
Yeah, knowing the enemy's battle plan helps.
Well, it's not your time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we do see it thrown back. Okay, so then this current week in our reading, we're in Hebrews. Not saying it's odd, but I'm saying as part of the Christmas story, I don't believe I've ever been in Hebrews. So why are you taking us there?
Well, because again, part of the incarnation, right, and angels were there, but it's really interesting that Hebrews 2 quotes from Psalm 8, and Psalm 8 says, "What is man that you are," speaking to God, "that you are mindful of him, that you give us any consideration at all?" Right? Well, what are we that you give us any consideration at all? You have made us, which is true, yeah, especially as sinners. You have made him, mankind, a little lower than the angels. Right?
Right.
So here's the thing. The writer of Hebrews quotes that in his section about talking about how Jesus is a better human, a better man. And you have made him, not just mankind, but he's applying it in a very specific, you've made him a little lower than the angels in the incarnation.
Right. For a short period
of time. Right. And so we see a little bit of anthropology and angelology going on, humans versus angels, right? And Jesus, not only did he step out of his rights of deity, but he actually placed himself lower than the entire ranking of angels by becoming human.
Right. So that says a couple things. That also tells us where we are in the pecking order.
Yep.
Right? We're lower than angels.
Yep.
At least here in Hebrews 2.
Yep. But that's temporary as well.
Right. Yep.
Right? So I think, and this is, again, broader, but before the fall, I think we were at least at the same level as angels, maybe, different but equal type thing. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now, some people, image of God has something to do with that. Do angels have the image of God? We know we do. It doesn't say anything about them, right?
Right.
Were we like this? And then when we sinned, we definitely went lower than the angels.
Right.
Okay. But in the future, we're going to judge angels. So there's...
Yeah, so does that... Well, also our sin nature, if that's taken away...
Yep.
Does that put us here?
Put us here, yeah, right.
Yeah, pop us up.
Right.
Yeah. But we definitely know that Jesus was lowered less than angels for a little while.
Yep.
But then
he's exalted.
Yeah, he pops
right.
Back
he
up,
was exalted.
Crowned him with glory and honor.
Yeah.
And put all things under his control.
Right. Now, what's interesting, all things under his feet, under his control, whatever. But it's interesting that the writer says, now we can't see that yet. Okay, now this was 35 years or so after Jesus' ascension, death, resurrection, ascension. And the writer of Hebrews is saying, it doesn't look like everything's been put under his control yet. And that's still true today.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like
true.
it.
Yeah, right.
The kingdom is not here. He's not ruling. He's not reigning, which is where Hebrews leads us. We're looking forward to that kingdom, looking forward to that eternal city. But it is true that he has been exalted. But not everybody, one day every tongue will confess. One day every knee will bow, but it's not today.
Right. How cool is that?
Looking
all right, then there's one more reading in Hebrews that I wanted to hit.
Can I say one more thing before we leave Hebrews 2? I was part of a podcast.
Oh, right.
I was invited to be part of a podcast that it's a 2-part podcast done by the academic dean at Word of Life Bible Institute in New York. And he invited me to join 2 other panelists that he was interviewing and did a 2-part podcast on 7 reasons for the incarnation from this passage in Hebrews 2. And he had us, break it. He said, here are the 7 things, and he assigned us each some. So if you want to go to learn.wol.org, and we can put that on the screen, learn.wol.org, there's a 2-part podcast up there specifically about this that you can go and you can listen into more detail.
Good.
Yeah, more detail than we're doing today.
Good point. So I think it's our last reading that shows up at the end of this week, and in Hebrews. So why'd you pick this one?
It's just because I like it.
Yeah. Well, and looking at it, it doesn't have anything to do with angels. I just thought it was a really good place to end today.
Yeah, it doesn't really have anything to do with angels, but it does have to do with, it's the summary, it's the result of the Christmas story, right?
Exactly.
So it's in Hebrews 13, verses 20 and 21, which is really weird because Hebrews 13 ends with verse 25. So this is the benediction, and then he signs off with a couple other things. Well, you should end with
always, or not all. The writer always has to give some. I forgot about it.
Well, it's sort of like what we're about to do, because we're going to read this, and then we're going to say, don't forget to subscribe and say hi to all your friends and Merry Christmas. So it's sort of the same thing. So in the net, this is just I just really love this benediction. The writer says, "Now may the God of peace, who by the blood of the eternal covenant brought back from the dead the great shepherd of the sheep, our Lord Jesus, equip you," may he equip you with every good thing to do his will, working in us what is pleasing before him, through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever. Amen.
Right.
Man, I love that.
Yeah, and it all starts with this baby being born.
Yep.
At least from our point of view.
Yep.
And then here's the end.
Yep.
So how cool is that?
Maybe we'll do an entire message or series on just those couple of verses. Look at all the great stuff that's in there.
Yeah, right.
That's
so much to go on. The great shepherd.
Yeah.
That could be a message. That has been a message.
It has been a message, yeah. Well, with that benediction, we close our Christmas series on our videos here. We hope that they were helpful. Of course, we hope that you enjoy them, but mostly that they're beneficial. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
As you walk the path, as you strive to know him better and love him more. That's why we're doing this. So, from both of us, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year, and we look forward to seeing what is coming in the new year. Yeah. Both here on these videos and everywhere else. So make sure you subscribe, like all of the different social medias so that you can make sure you get notified when these come out. See you soon.